Chord changes for beginners. This is a video that I wanted to make because I think it's one of the biggest places in learning guitar where everyone quits. And playing guitar is moving your fingers from notes to notes, usually with more than one note. So literally, chord changes is playing guitar. So if you can't do this effectively, you're not a very good player. And so that's why I'm doing this for the beginners. How can we do this effectively and efficiently? And so there's 3 keys to chord changes on the guitar. Number 1, use your metronome. This is not something that people like to hear, but it's the truth. If you don't use a metronome while you practice, it's not practicing. So rule number 1, use your metronome. Rule number 2, use it effectively. And I'm gonna go over in a second how to do that. And number 3 is change the tempo. If you can't play a song or chord changes or a song or anything at different tempos, then you don't really know it. If you can't play it slow, medium, fast, then you don't really have the song. So that's probably the third and a really crucial rule, but rule number 1 is the most important. Use your metronome. So what you need to do as a beginner, I'm gonna just use a basic chord progression for you beginners, the first couple of chords you're gonna learn. And you wanna put your metronome on, and I like to start at 60 if I don't know something, and if you don't know something, you should start your metronome at 60 because that's 1 second, right? So that's a good place to start, and you want to give about 4 beats to each chord. And so we're going to do a beginning chord progression, G, D, E minor, C. That's where everyone starts. You want to give 4 beats to each chord, but the tricky part is changing them, right? So watch. We're on beat 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's the correct way. Whoops. Here's what we do as beginners, right? When we're on a chord, we want to go nice and fast. And then we need to look, change. And probably don't realize that you sound like this, but you do. That's why recording yourself helps too. But if you don't have the metronome, you're not gonna keep a steady beat. So get that metronome on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start slow. And I'm gonna give y'all a really important piece of advice right here. What you gotta do, if you don't quite know your chord, keep that right hand going no matter what. That right hand is your metronome. So I'm gonna give you an example. If you don't really quite have your chords yet of what you should do, if you don't have your chords quite perfect yet, it's okay to kind of adjust as you go. That's better than being just completely late, right? So if you need to kind of 3, 4, that's not good, right? You want to just keep this hand going. That way at least one hand is right. Right? So you don't want to hesitate on this hand, or basically they're both wrong. So get this hand to just go. No matter what. Let's say I can't quite get to my D, that's okay. The second, third, and fourth beat will be right? And when you're playing with the band and stuff, that's actually not very noticeable, but being completely late is very noticeable. So number 2, practicing your metronome efficiently, I guess, is just keep this right hand going with the beat. That right hand needs to be just automatic, and that's gonna take practice with the metronome. So number 3 was changing your tempo. So once I got my chord progression G, D, E minor, C down at 60. Let's bump that sucker up to 70. Here's 70 beats per minute. 3, 4. Doing downstrokes for the sake of the beginners. That's a very beginner, chord progression, and just down strums is fine at first for just getting those chords on time. So you got them down at 70. Now it's time for 80. 80 beats per minute. 2, 3, 4. Good. Got it at 80. So now 90. And you might want to go by fives. I'm doing big jumps. Even 5 beats per minute is a big jump. But 10, that's, kind of a bigger jump. But I'm just doing that for the sake of time. Here's 90 beats per minute. 3, 4. 3, 4. What you want to do is get it all the way up to 120. 120 is double your 60, right? And that's kind of like just your average fast tempo beat, your allegro, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's like an example of fast. So there's a lot of different strumming things you can do, but I'm just keeping this about the chord changes, right? This left hand and right hand working together on tempo is what this video is about. And so that's how you want to do that with the metronome. And another way to make that, interesting, I'm using my piano as the metronome, but you can use an app, and then you can use a back drum beat too. So check this out. If you get bored with that, if that's boring for you, get it on the drum set. Get a backbeat going. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a good way, to make the practice more interesting. Keeping the tempo, but it's not as boring as the metronome, because you got those, different fills, variations. You can put the variation button in there. Change it up, and then make your strumming pattern more interesting. Something for the intermediate guitarist to think about, changing your strum pattern, while you're changing those chord patterns. But whatever chords you're working on, this is what you got to do. Just start at the metronome. Number one, use the metronome. There's no way around it. You got to have a good tempo. Number two, use your right hand as the metronome no matter what. That way, if your left hand's not quite working, at least you're still on the tempo. So make that, practice efficient with using that right hand as the metronome with the metronome. And number three, change your tempo. Start at 60, work your way up to 120. If you need to go by fives, that's fine. Go by tens, start at 60, 70, 80, 90, all the way to 120. And if you want to be really, really good, kind of push it to 150. It doesn't hurt to be better than fast. So I hope this video helps you beginners out there with chord changes. Don't be discouraged. This takes practice. This takes time, and you got to practice the right way and every day to get results. It's not going to happen overnight. So just keep using the metronome and don't get discouraged. Good luck on your journey. Peace.